Hi there, this is your unofficial IT guy here. Today I want to talk about a couple of different things that have been coming up in conversations on message boards and kind of across the internet, and it's been a kind of off and on topic over the past few months, and that's going to be the topic of region locking or region coding video games, specifically for Nintendo. What is region code? What is region locking? Region locking is the practice of making it so that video games from other countries, continents, areas of the world, for all intents and purposes, have different kind of playability across the globe. So a game that was purchased in America may not play over in Europe, or vice versa. It may not be recognized by the system when it's inserted as a valid game, even if it's a legitimate copy. Now, there are a few reasons to do this. One of the main reasons that this is done is to create specific releases and release dates for different games in different regions. So, for example, traditionally Japan would get games first, then North America, then Europe, Australia, other areas of the world kind of thereafter. And they would do this for a few different reasons. One of them would be localization. So for Japan, they would localize it in Japanese, make it the original kind of version, and then translate it and bring it over to other areas. They would also go through processes to make sure that the later releases are more stable. So if they caught any bugs on the first time that it's released, the second time that it's released thereafter, it's going to have kind of more stable functionality. Not even that. I mean, it goes back to the original Nintendo, where you couldn't play a game from Japan on a standard NES without an adapter. Some of the games, actually, little fun fact, Gyromite and some of the other early NES games, they didn't have enough copies of them to be made in the US. So what they did was they took the Japanese versions of the game, put a built-in adapter inside of the cartridge, and made the conversion from the smaller pin set that was on the Japanese Famicom and made it so that it would fit into a local Nintendo Entertainment System in the US. Anything that's cartridge based, they would either change the different notches in that, make it so that it has to be keyed a certain way when it's inserted, change the number of pins on it. For all intents and purposes, though, a Super Nintendo cartridge has the same pin out as a Super Famicom, and you can actually take a game, import it, and if you break these couple of tabs off inside of a Super Nintendo in the US, those games will play just fine. Some of the concerns, piracy, some of it's the street date, some of it's making sure that they get the proper localization so that it's in the right language. Now, let's take a look at region coding today. Both Xbox and PlayStation 3 dropped region coding. It's not really as necessary as it was, when you're trying to ensure that people aren't buying games in Japan and playing them in the US. Nintendo still has this practice. Now, there have been ways around this. So, for example, in the GameCube days, there were swap disks that would make your console region free. So it would basically load up your local region data, ask you which region the game's in, put in that game, and then it plays just fine because it loads it, tricks it, and makes it playable. Skips over that authentication process. Similar processes have been performed for the Wii, and the problem is that people want to import games. People love to import games so much that there are enthusiasts out there that will take apart their console, solder on extra components known as mod chips, and use it to play these games. I have legitimate import games that I have played on my Nintendo Wii and on my GameCube, and I purchased them directly from an authorized seller. And Nintendo made their money, the developers made their money, and I got to play games that either weren't going to be headed over for the US for quite some time or may never make it over. For example, Battle Stadium DON is a phenomenal fighting game title that any Smash Brothers and anime enthusiast would love this cross between. Same with Jump Superstars and Jump Ultimate Stars from the Nintendo DS. Both great great games that never saw the light of day stateside. Piracy is basically when one person takes a game without buying it, really. The main developer isn't getting any money from this. If you pirate a game, you should pay for it if you enjoy playing it. I feel that it's the right thing to do. It's the equivalent of a game rental. If you enjoy a game, buy it. Just fund it. It's the right thing to do to make sure that these gaming companies don't go bankrupt. They have so many things that are getting in their way. They have to overcome the fact that people will pirate their games. They have to overcome the fact that some people will buy the games and then enjoy it, play it all the way through, beat it, and then sell it to GameStop, and then GameStop turns around and sells it, and the developer doesn't get any credit, for selling that game again. They don't get, twice that income. You could have 10 people buy and sell that same game over and over again, and GameStop makes a bit of money from that, and the developer gets the credit of selling one copy. Region coding really shouldn't have much to do with that, but the problem is that people will go through such great lengths to remove region coding from their systems, making it so that they can play imported titles, that it also opens it up for piracy. So that's where this comes in hand, so that people that end up mod chipping their systems end up being classified as a pirate, even if they're using it for legitimate gameplay. Nintendo said in a recent interview, I guess it was, in a recent Q&A section, that they have no plans to remove the region coding from their system. And people have been petitioning on the Miiverse and online and different forums saying that Nintendo should push a software update to make it so that their console is region free. It doesn't make sense in this day and age to have it so that, right now, Europe will get a game released before anybody else does in some instances. So, if you look, you have copies of Pikmin that came out a good 2 weeks to a month before it came out in the United States. And people that have been playing the game for weeks before I even got a chance to download it. One of the things that is going to kind of wreck this, though, if you think about it, is the fact that we're going to a digital distribution method instead of these discs, which, if we go completely diskless on this, then we can reduce the cost of games. They're not going to reduce the cost of games, though. They're still selling New Super Mario Brothers U for $59, the same as if you were to walk into a Walmart and pick it off the shelf. It doesn't make sense because you don't have that manufacturing cost, but they're still making that money for it, really. I have friends and family that have moved overseas that have had fine, luck using their Xbox 360 over there, or, they just need a power adapter or power converter. Then they've used their original DSs and Game Boys, but then 3DS has a region lock on it. Nintendo Wii has a region lock on it. The Wii U has a region lock on it. They either need to go through mod chip methods, soft modding, or buy their systems and games over again. And it doesn't make sense to move and then not be able to play your games. So Nintendo, I really hope that you do consider removing the region locks from your consoles. It's about time that we break this lock. And by doing so, you're going to have a lot less people that are going out and modifying their systems, voiding their warranties, and inadvertently unlocking their systems to play pirated games. So it's a win for you, people that want to actually import games and play them on their console. It doesn't make sense to lock them out of it. For the Super Smash Brothers came out for the Wii, and as a result, the original game disc wasn't playing on a lot of modified systems, and the workaround for that was to make a backup copy of that game, a legitimate game, and play it. Which means why am I buying this game when I could just download it for free and play it since I'm going to have to anyways? Thanks for listening to me rant, and hope we make some progress, Nintendo. Thank you.